Ladies and gentlemen, after the conclusion of the first panel discussion, we are now all set to move forward to the second panel discussion of the day. I'll quickly repeat the topic for you all. This is about new models for scaling FlexSpace business. I'll repeat the topic for you all once again. This is about new models for scaling FlexSpace business. Like always, I'll be first introducing our honorable moderator, and then I'll be introducing our speakers in alphabetical order, and then I'll request our moderator and speakers, all of them together, to join me on stage after all the introductions are done. Ladies and gentlemen, the session will be moderated by Mr. Gautam Saraf, Managing Director, Mumbai and New Business at Cushman and Wakefield. Gautam ji is a seasoned leader with over 2 decades of experience in Indian real estate. He pioneered agency leasing in India and leads a 400+ strong team and holds deep connections across the industry. In a career spanning over 2 decades, Gautam ji has worked across asset types and industries, has a strong market hold on the traditional commercial asset classes, and continues to champion the alternates. I'll now introduce our speakers in alphabetical order, and then I'll request all of them to join me on stage together. We have with us today the esteemed presence of Mr. Kushal Bhargava, co-founder MyBranch Services. Kushal ji steers MyBranch's mission of establishing a pan-India presence while building strong partnerships with Indian corporates and MNCs all over. He also spearheads ancillary ventures such as meeting rooms, virtual offices, and managed offices as well. His passion extends beyond business growth to driving economic development in smaller Indian towns and unlocking their untapped potential. We also have with us today Mr. Paras Arora, who is the founder and CEO of Qdesq. Paras ji brings over 20+ years of experience, and in 2015, he began with the venture aiming to revolutionize this concept of booking flexible workspaces. Consequently, ladies and gentlemen, Qdesq was introduced as a platform that facilitated the discovery, evaluation, and reservation of flexible workspaces. It is now India's largest marketplace, ladies and gentlemen, for discovering and booking flexible workspaces. We also have with us today the esteemed presence of Princy Goyal, co-founder and CEO Wybrid. Excuse me. Prince Goyal started her journey by founding Contour Space, a co-working company, in the year 2018. She is now building Wybrid, a work tech company that has developed new age tech stack for the real estate industry to increase efficiency and accommodate modern use cases such as hybrid work. And we also have with us today, ladies and gentlemen, for this session, Zishan Khan, Director Revenue, AKT Space. With over 16 years of specialized experience in driving revenue growth and expanding market presence in the flexible office space sector, he has a proven ability to develop and execute strategies across sales, marketing, and branding, consistently delivering measurable results that contribute to a company's success. Ladies and gentlemen, on that note, I'll request our honorable moderator and speakers to please kindly join me over here on stage with a huge round of applause from all of you, please, to encourage them. This is going to be an interesting session. So thank you so much, sir, for joining us. Pleasure to have all of you. Please request you to take your seats. Thank you. Thank you. It's your battlefield, so you decide how you want. Yeah. It's your call. I mean, anyway, everybody knows all of you, so it depends how you want to sit. So that's completely fine. I believe our moderator wants to stand and do it, so you can anyway take your respective spaces however you want to do it. And ladies and gentlemen, the दूसरा panel discussion चालू होने वाला है. Like I always believe, Mumbai is known for its spirit. Please, I know it's a very interesting corporate event. Can I please have some energy from all of you? A huge round of applause for the second panel speakers for the day. Our honorable moderator is set to take it from here. Thank you. No.
Yeah, is this better? Yeah. Trust me, we'll try to keep it more interesting than the lunch outside for the ones who've left. Because we've got a very interesting panel here from, not just the co-working operators, but we've got Zishan, as he rightly introduced to something. He's been the oldest veteran in this space, made real money when it comes to the executive center, and now founder of AKT, as it called it, ACT. We've got Princy, who's from Gen Z, who can actually give us a perspective of how, from actually the first SME listed in the stock exchanges was Contour Spaces. And she's a founding member of the Contour Spaces. then how they moved into the tech space when it comes to Wybrid as a business, which has got ERP as solutioning. We've got Kushal, who kind of focused into the tier 2, tier 3 markets from a growth perspective, while the other people were more focused on the tier 1 market. He'll give us a perspective of what that market entails. And we've also got Paras, who actually aggregated everybody together and put it on the largest marketplace as a platform. And with that, Zishan, why don't I start with you to give us a perspective of the evolution of this entire industry.
Yeah, thank you, Gautam. Sounds oldest.
No, not age-wise.
I would put it probably the experience part of it. So yeah, I've been associated with this industry since 2008. So a pretty long journey for me in this industry, and I've seen the growth of it as we move forward from 2008. So it all started in India in about 2005 when the international companies started coming in, and I'll put it in like decades of how it has really grown. Like any other company, the first thing why people started using these kind of spaces were for comfort. When they were coming to India, they wanted a landing which was soft. They wanted all the hassles not to be there and all of that. So that's how this industry started gaining momentum from 2005 to say about 2015 and 16. This was the reason why people were choosing the flex industry. At that time, it was called business centers. From 16, 17, we saw momentum in the industry where a lot of players started coming in. And from just being the comfort as the factor, why they were selecting this, it became the choice. So a lot of clients had the choice in order to make where they will be more comfortable with respect to the different players which were coming in at different value propositions, different offerings. And as we move into the next decade now, what we are seeing is the third C part of it, which is the control. Now what we are seeing in the industry is the clients have the control to decide and choose what comfort level they want. So now we are having a lot of these managed office solutions where the clients are dictating the terms in terms of what they need as look and feel. I heard Rahul talking in the other panel that, how clients are wanting to have that experience when they walk into their office, that it is their office and not part of a shared community. So that's how the industry has grown, and that is how I've seen. So I always take it from that perspective that it was comfort which started it, the choice which made it more interesting, but now the control part is what is really pushing the industry to grow the way it is growing.
No, quite interesting the way it's evolved. But Paras, from Jishan's perspective, a little bit more on it, and how many such platforms are listed on your platform? As how many such players are listed on?
Sure. First and foremost, thanks to the organizers for having us. Totally taking from him, when we started Qdesq as a marketplace way back in November 2015, no one would believe we had only 5 centers listed in the first month. And today we are 5,300 centers across 105 cities. The evolution, I think the broader fundamental is the change in narrative. When we started, we had to tell people what is co-working or a flex or a on-demand. You can book a space for 6 months, 1 year. Everything in the industry was square feet based. 4 walls, square feet, 1,000 square feet or a 10,000 square feet. Now, the learning has been phenomenal. Industry is speaking that I need a managed office solution or a co-working solution, and I need these many desks at this price for this tenure. So I think the change in narrative is the biggest evolution. Plus, we started with co-working, where the 90% of the demand was under 30 desks. Now with managed office, bespoke, customized enterprise solutions, so we have co-working across India, we have managed office operators, and now new thing which is called touchdown space, which is not an office, which is not home, it's somewhere in the middle. Some people are focusing, calling them workspace lounge. Some people are calling it, totally on-demand hot desk, where enterprises are giving flexibility to their employees and they can book on demand whenever they want to work. So they're booking like 2 days, 3 days in a week. So that's, on the behavior from the customer side, which has given a lot of operators to evolve. But I think everything is existing and growing beautifully. Like Sanjay previously mentioned that it's like $1 billion market and it will go 8x, 9x, around 10 billion in next 3 years. In terms of office stock calculation, we just recently did the report. Around 20% of office stock is in flex. And it is going to be another 10 to 12% in next 3 years. That's it from my side.
No, that's a good point because as Paras mentioned, last year we had upwards of 70 million square feet of gross leasing activity. 14% of that was flex. So I don't think it's anymore an option. It's a reality from a consideration set perspective. Let me bring in Kushal. Kushal, 5,300 listings, 105 cities. Do you think it's sustainable or will there be consolidation?
So hi everyone. Yeah. First thing I would like to talk about is actually what MyBranch does because it's quite different from a lot of people who are part of the discussion here. We are basically present in all the 28 states in India. We have presence in more than 75 cities. So the smallest city which we can name probably is Nandurbar, Disa, and larger cities are of course going to be Mumbai. So the point I'm trying to get to is that the co-working sector today, there's enough for everyone to bite. So everybody has their own business model. Everybody is looking at how they need to structure the solution. In fact, the earlier question about evolution of co-working, the real evolution has been, how we're able to update designs. The reason that people are finding that the co-working sector is changing faster than the traditional formats. People can easily come to a co-working sector and FlexSpace, you talk to the customers, about how the look and feel, how the experience needs to improve. So when we come back to a consolidation perspective, I think there's still a lot more time. There's enough for everyone to bite, there's enough for everybody to chew. But yeah, for that to sustain, what is important that everybody needs to have their own USP. So as far as someone has found a niche that they want to work in, they are able to dominate in that sector, then consolidation won't be needed for the next couple of years. So that's my perspective about FlexSpace.
Oh, that's interesting. Princy, are you planning to list Wybrid? No, that's not the question. I was just, I'm saying the question is that, you did Contour Spaces, which had a phenomenal run in the market and it still exists and it's got a team that's running it and moved into Wybrid, which is an ERP. One of your biggest clients, I'm guessing, would be Contour as a group company and then expanding it to. So how does this tech as a differentiator play in hard assets as a commercial real estate assets?
Sure. So when I was doing Contour Space, where, like I'm sure everybody will agree with me, I had a couple of questions on my head. How do I increase my space efficiency? How do I save my costs when it comes to energy? How do I bring standardization to my spaces which are, across MMR or across geographical location? And then also, how do I use tech to increase revenue at a center level, be it with dynamic pricing, be it using any sort of AI? And I had no data on me. Because while I was using technology, I was using very disintegrated tools. I might be using some CRM, some visitor management, everything was all over the place. I didn't have any integrated solutions to give me answers to these questions. And co-working is a services business, the margins are lower, it's a volume game. So these are very important questions. That's when, the idea of Wybrid came, where we didn't have any real estate specific tools which were doing this level of ERP solutions. And I think as, to answer your question more specifically, as a differentiator, I think since all the co-working players, CRE in general, is growing at such a fast pace, keeping a track of your existing assets, your older assets, which are, now coming to maybe 6 years old, 7 years old, how do you kind of ensure that you don't have any leakages in revenue, I think that's where tech plays a very, very important role. And from the cost perspective, I don't think tech costs you more than a percentage of your revenue at max. And the kind of revenue savings and additional revenue that it can bring to you, I think that is a question that everybody needs to kind of focus on.
Great. I agree with you, tech and with the AI kind of evolving, it's more and more eminent that you'll have to use it sooner than later to remain relevant. Zishan, you spoke about the evolution and then you said that, look, it started with business centers and, there are various Cs and the control mechanism come in. Did enterprise in India kind of evolve because co-working wasn't making money? Is co-working as a business more profitable or the managed solutions is more profitable if you were to put them into buckets?
So I'll try and keep it simple. Now, co-working for me is a term which is overused or sometimes misunderstood. As humans, we are social animals. Even when we talk about these large buildings or these tech parks, they always used to have like a common cafeteria where all the tenants of the building used to come and during lunch hours, or these tech parks used to have events, and they had these collab spaces and all. So when we talk about co-working per se, and if we isolate it to something in which there are two different companies sitting across a table, then yes, my understanding was that that was not a sustainable model in the long run. When we talk about co-working in terms of all the clients having their own spaces, but you have a common community zone or a collab spaces, then yes. So the managed office or the enterprise solution or the serviced office concept, we have so many of these hashtags now, which has evolved in the last few years. It always made sense or made money because you were giving them a private space while also giving them a community zone, which I think everybody who used to call themselves as co-working was also giving from day one.
Yes.
It's just, it was a very nice hashtag to use as co-working. And I remember attending a lot of conferences in 2017 and 18 where the only word which we used to hear was co-working, though the business of those co-working players was about 80% enterprise. So that's where my take on it is that, the managed office will always be something which will bring you the revenues. The co-working as a term, if we use it correctly, then it's part of the managed office. But if you're talking of two companies sitting across a table, then yes, the profitability will definitely be a challenge because we are not into QSR business.
So it'll be better off for enterprise or a managed solutions.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Kushal, more relevant to the topic, new models of flex spaces emerging. Do you see evolution? We are seeing now landlords or developers, owners wanting to set up their own co-working as a platform. So how does it compare with the others? We see business clubs having these specific desks, whether it's a Bay Club or a Quorum and many others, who have a couple of desks that they rent on per day, per use basis or something. So is that sustainable? Any views on that from a...
So some of the examples that you've given are actually providing co-working as an ancillary service.
Correct.
So if you're looking at a co-working sector independently, there are multiple questions that a promoter, owner, the person who's running the show needs to decide of whether you're looking at scalability, whether you're looking at creating a category for yourself. There are a lot of co-working centers even in Mumbai who are only catering within the building complex. Right. So there's a building super saturated, but still a space is made for the co-working, and if you talk to them, they're like, this is exactly what we want to do. So in co-working, it's important to realize that which sector you want to do, but from a listing perspective, from a valuation perspective, because that's, the discussion which happened earlier in the day also, scalability is very important. So new business models will keep evolving because this is a very capex heavy industry. So if someone needs to expand quickly, like the startup industry is typically known where you need to get vertical growth. So for vertical growth, you'll have to look at partnership model, you'll have to look at collaboration. So a lot of collaboration also can be the next step within the industry, like when you're not present in certain cities, but you still need to answer. Customers today are looking for a single point, single contact solution. So even within the occupiers, we can collaborate. We can look at how you can continue to hold the customer be the custodian for the customer, but we can still be part of your solution. So there's lots more to be provided. We can also talk about, the life cycle management. So even today, we are part of the real estate category, but if you're able to move from a real estate to a solution provider, where you're taking care of lot many hassles of the customers, the biggest one being, I'm sure I'm speaking on behalf of everyone here, is hiring. If you're able to take care of hiring, you're able to take care of compliances, you're able to take care of accounting. If you're able to manage all the legworks of the customer other than his core, he will expand only with you. So there are multiple things that we can look at how to fuel the growth in co-working.
Let me bring in Princy. Princy, so there's evolution that happened. It moved from co-working to enterprise to, like you said, as an ancillary services, some business clubs are providing. Do you see this business venturing into more of hospitality? Because it's a lot of experiential quotient is the reason why you went to go into business center, or you take care of a lot of OPEX and a lot of day-to-day, chores that you need to manage when you come into an office. So do you think it'll evolve where you may start providing overnight stays or a business club along with it, or F&B tie-ups with events? We see now the evolution in the event spaces where a lot of co-working players have started renting back and beyond spaces in office larger campuses and renting it to for events like this, right, where you don't need to pay the kind of price the hotel would charge, and it's far more convenient within the CBD or the office block.
I think definitely. I think co-working inherently always worked on aggregating a lot of services for their clients and building that community, be it, tie-ups with your cab services, with your hotel services, with your accounting firms, anything that a business needs in, one-stop solution. So definitely there will be an integration towards hospitality, but I think the better term would be I think there is a hotelization happening of the co-working industry where you're looking at, right from, like I was mentioning earlier, do I want to get into dynamic pricing? Do I want to, how do I want to get into live inventory? How do I cash into hybrid work, etc.? So I think that is the trajectory that the industry might take on.
Got it. Paras, with so many listings that you have, what's the kind of tenant profile in the tier 2, tier 3 markets? What's the kind of occupiers who, come on your platform and commit to?
In tier 2 and tier 3 market, in fact, in 2019, our revenue portfolio was only 1% in tier 2. Now it is 35%. And when I look at the tenant mix for co-working or the managed office, you won't believe 90% is large Indian firms and enterprises. With COVID, the decentralization has happened, which a large campus in Noida, Gurgaon, which used to be 100,000 square feet, is now getting shrunk to 30, 40,000 with 7, 8, decentralized pan-India offices. We have seen that growth in Jaipur. We have seen in even, Northeast. MyBranch is there housing a lot of enterprise client. We also have occupancies there through him. And then, one big, amongst the big 4 consulting firm is sitting even in Leh Ladakh. So, they have projects. Yeah. So they have projects all across India. It is still enterprise BFSI driven. And also those project firms who come to a micro market or a city and they have a project for 12 months, 18 months, consulting firms. So that's broadly the tenant mix. Yet to see startup phenomena in tier 2, tier 3. I feel it's still the large companies which are occupying space in tier 2, tier 3 cities.
Just if you name a few more cities apart from Leh Ladakh and Jaipur, which are these
So
markets?
we've seen Accenture, we've also seen PwC doing a managed office. We've also seen Zomato big time across 40, 45 cities, Walmart, PhonePe, fintech firms. And of course, he has a lot of BFSI client, Kushal. I think all the banks and insurance companies, they are in tier 2, tier 3 markets.
Yeah, sure, Kushal, you want to?
A couple of cities, if you'd want to hear, I can
please.
definitely contribute here. So in terms of project office, as he mentioned, we are getting demand in Shillong. We've also got demand in Gangtok. one of the biggest success story for us, which even we've not been able to zero down upon why it has been, is a city called Hanumankonda. These are places where demand, we've been able to look at the demand, or our occupancy has been close to 70% in close to 45 to 60 days. So there's a lot of traction.
And how large are these centers, as in?
So these centers will be anything between 2.5 to 5,000 square feet carpet. So there's a lot of demand, a lot of events that take place in metros like how we are hosting today. You will actually come to know that the real growth, either in terms of consumption, even in terms of real estate, there is a boom in tier 2 and tier 3 cities. In fact, some of our landlords in the cities which I've mentioned are talking about nothing less than 30% on renewal.
30%.
They are also talking at the same time that if it's not you, we have X, Y, Z, plus more.
And
So-
these are what, base rent models, or generally most of them are revenue share models?
So I would love to say that a lot of them are revenue share models, but typically in a tier 2, it doesn't really exist. They are more straight-jacketed, plain vanilla, traditional format, which is pure rental model that is there.
And you still make 30-40% margin.
I think we'll discuss later probably.
Okay, we'll take that up separately.
See,
But-
MyBranch as well as a couple of other players, they're finding it difficult to get rev share deals purely because of the reason that the limited supply of compliant spaces. And all these clients, they want compliant spaces. So the options are less, and they are sometimes in 3 figures rentals.
Yeah, in fact, just to conclude on that, this is the understanding which I have in metros typically. When a customer is looking for a place, he looks at micro market, he looks at price, and then he looks at amenities. But when it's tier 2 cities, it is compliance and everything else doesn't matter. So that's the selection criteria differentiation which is there in a tier 2, because you had also asked about how does the occupier really look. So they are extremely conscious on compliant. So thankfully in metros where you have grade A building, I can't single out any city where we can say that there is supply of adequate grade A building in a tier 2 city. There's absolutely, as Paras mentioned, completely limited stock available, and landlords are as smart as anybody here. They know how to get the right piece of the pie.
Got it. Let me
Gautam,
bring in-
if
sorry.
you allow, sorry, I've taken a bit more mics. I just want to go back to your question about landlords' role, developers' role in the ecosystem. There was a small phase when we saw landlords getting into co-working themselves in their building, but I think still the narrative is around they rather having operator as a tenant than themselves doing. Like if you see Singapore, all the big developers have their own flex product. So I think with people still hybrid and decentralization of office, all the buildings need to have this meeting and workspace space. That's why people like Gautam have got good response where a lot of corporate meetings and events are happening and they have a bit of workspace as well. So I think now you will see landlords creating this more as an amenity with a partnership with with the operator.
Makes sense. Zishan, you want to say something before I...
No, I agree with Paras on this because it all depends who's running it, right? We have to differentiate from a real estate to a serviced office industry. We are part of serviced office, and it all matters is who's running and calling the shots for our industry because they operate very differently. Real estate in India and service industry in India operate very differently. So if we have the right people to manage it, whether it is the developer or an experienced provider, office provider, it doesn't matter, but what matters is who's really calling the shots in the industry.
So question to you from similar to the tier 2 market where you said the priority number 1 is compliance, right? In a tier 1 market where a lot of North American firms, and I would say 60-70% occupancy, would be American firms in centers that you operate or have operated in the past. There's a lot of sustainability that comes in. So any thoughts on that? Because, at AKT also I see there's a lot of elements of sustainability you kind of try to bring in from, environment, social responsibility kind of a situation.
Yes, I think that's a very important part. We are now becoming more conscious of how this has to be handled. Sustainability is a very, very important aspect when the clients are looking at their potential office take-ups. We obviously are focusing a lot more on that. And I see that will be one of the bigger factors in the next decade as we grow the industry, that people will come and start curating the office spaces from controlling the office spaces. And the difference between curating would be that you're bringing the best available in the industry and creating an experience for the end users. So the move from control will be to curate experiences. As Kushal mentioned, hiring is important, but what is extremely important beyond hiring is also retaining the talent. I think that's also a major challenge with a lot of companies are facing. So while there is still resistance in a lot of North American companies about return to work, what will drive the flex industry would be to create an experiential office space, something which we call as Offitel, which is basically office and hotel experience, where people would want to come back, where people are comfortable to come back to and would want to work out of or stay there. And that will help in the retention of the talent, because that's even bigger. Because if people move out or there is attrition, then it's not only the person you lose out, but also the investment you've done on that person that you lose out. So I think investing in the property in the right way, curating that experience for all the employees will be a major driving factor as we move into the next decade of growth for the flex industry.
Interesting. Princy, you one of the first SMEs to be listed as Contour Spaces, and there's like a queue up of IPOs that are coming in. So is it better to stay private and profitable, or with all these regulatory requirements, IPO would be the...
I think it really depends on the vision of the founders and what is their exit strategy. I think co-working as a business can definitely be a sustainable profit business. It depends on how it's been held, if what the private holdings are. So it really depends, and at this point, like you said, there are already about 4 to 5 companies in the pipeline, except the ones that are already listed. So this space is starting to get crowded, the valuations are starting to get corrected. So I think if somebody had to go for an IPO, the timeline would matter as well. For us, I think being one of the first companies to get listed, we had a lot of other advantages of being listed, because we were also SME competing with some really large guys. So also the marketing benefits, being on the table, and a bunch of other benefits that we were able to get, somebody who gets listed now might not be able to. So depending on their vision, their equity, etc., it's a call that it's very subjective.
Got it. With that, we can open the house for questions for the team.
Can I have a mic? So, is there anybody any questions? If you will please raise your hand for me. You can take 2 questions. Anybody has any questions? I don't see any hands being raised.
You're all hungry now.
They're all hungry now, or maybe they want to connect in the networking.
Yeah,
zone,
both works.
That possibly might be the scenario. So, okay, I'll take that as the front.
There's one question there.
Please. Audio check 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
Yeah. So the question is to Zishan, because you mentioned an interesting term called Offitel. So just want to understand, could there be any possibility of tie-ups between a hotel and a managed working space, or an IT park or something, like we have in residential spaces, where we have managed residential spaces where a 5-star hotel is managing the entire space for premium residences or something like that. Do you think there could be a possibility?
Yes, absolutely. Not in the immediate future, for sure. I think we still need to evolve that concept. But what I think it will be very, very important and interesting to see how we evolve this entire experiential space concept. Right now, office was something which was very cumbersome. People were coming to office to do the heavy lifting, but now the idea is that office becomes an experience center for the employees so that they wish to come, especially braving all the traffic, all the noise outside, to come and have a peaceful place where they can work, show their productivity, and also have their own zones where they can probably meditate, introspect, and do a lot more, even focusing on some of their hobbies. So we at Act Spaces are creating those zones within the office space where, people, if they have interests or passions, some of them, whatever we can bring into the office space, we are trying to bring that in the office space so that it's not only that you have to go and just do the heavy lifting, you have a lot more to experience when you come to the office space.
Thank you for that question. Any more question? We have a bandwidth for one more question. Of course, if it's there. Otherwise, sir has a question, sure.
Hi, this one is for you, Princy. In terms of technology and AI that we've been talking about, at least I personally haven't seen anything great happening in the, or I haven't seen anything which is wow, right? As far as AI in realty space is concerned, besides the fact that you've got great portals, you consolidate things and you put them in a place where one can choose, and so basically buying has become a little easier, and nothing has gone beyond that, right? Not that I have come across anything, right? How do you see? So a lot of industries have become tech first, right? Either by choice or by demand. Right. In my assessment, realty will always remain human first than tech first. And you'll always have tech as a support function.
Sure.
Right. So how do you see tech stroke AI getting into the realty space from a consumer facing standpoint?
Sure. I think the tech in our industry right now is still very nascent. We don't have basic level of digitization to be able to support AI also. And I think some of the problems that tech can solve for, we just spoke on the stage. So for example, hiring and retention is a big problem when it comes to, giving a standardized service to your clients. That's where I think tech again plays a big role, where you have those kind of compliances, processes, and supporting data available for anybody who's coming in, especially in your community roles or operations roles, which are being changed very often. And the major thing that most people are doing is handling tickets all the time, AC nahi chal raha hai, toilet ka hygiene hai. So at the founder level, by the time that data comes to me, the problem or the client is already lost. So first comes our basic standardization. Or speaking about creating, an Offitel experience. How do I know what is it that my clients are really liking? What kind of rooms are they enjoying more? Do they like more coffee versus tea? What is my human behavior? Or, what is my customer experience? Again, I don't have proper data to be able to analyze and act upon. Or be it, a lot of developers looking to get into, their own flex spaces. One of the reasons they're still opting for other co-working operators is because they don't have the business intelligence to kind of set up that kind of service or the bandwidth. Again, they are opting for a lot of tech to kind of, bring in that intelligence and base level to then be able to give, add-on services. So while it is a supporting role often, it gives your team members the bandwidth to create that kind of service and the human connect and take away a lot of back-end work, which most of the people are, spending 80% of their time in currently. And once these basic digitizations are done, that's when you can really bring in AI. Right? AI can then give you a lot of level of data analytics. ESG is a big, benefit of bringing in tech, where you're able to calculate your carbon footprint, your energy consumptions, cost savings. So I think a lot of inherent benefits of first bringing in tech, both on front of saving costs, increasing revenue, and giving a better customer experience.
Thank you so much, sir, for that question. Thank you so much to both of you for the questions. Thank you so much for that answer. Thank you so much for moderating this session. And ladies and gentlemen, let's give them a nice Thanksgiving by appreciating for this very fascinating panel discussion. I'll request all of you to please kindly come forward. And on that note, I'll request Sapna Srivastav, editor, Realty Plus, to please kindly join me over here on stage to give away the token of appreciation for our guests over here. Ladies and gentlemen, mujhe taliyon ki goon sunai nahi de. There's been a lot of knowledge and insights. Please, the least we can do is clap and appreciate. Thank you. We'll do a nice group photo with all of you after all of, I believe all of them are already given, yeah. So we'll do a nice group photo with all of you together, please. Sapna can be the poser in the middle, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, as they smile, can I request all of you for another round of cheers, please? For them, I'm sure the smile is going to brighten up a lot more with that. Cheers from your end. Thank you. Thank you so much, for your time, and looking forward to seeing you all next year as well. Thank you, Sapna, for doing this. Thank you. Pleasure. Thank you. Pleasure. Thank you. Requesting all of you to take your seats. Thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, I know, the feeling of being hungry can be like, and I think to address that issue, you know what I'm going to say next. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, I'm calling for lunch right now. Thank you so much. With that, we come to an end of the Realty Plus FlexSpaces Conclave. And I thank all the speakers for sharing their knowledge and wisdom with all of us. I'll see you all very soon post-lunch with the Realty Plus PropTech Conclave 2025. See you on the other side post-lunch. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll take a 30 minutes break for lunch and then we begin. Thank you so much.